There we go. This is what I wanted. So good afternoon, everyone. I was just saying, I hope you've got your lunch with you since it's full on lunchtime. I'm Ellen Wilson. I look after sustainability and smart cities at Microsoft UK. And today I'm going to take you through my thoughts on building back better and how we can use digital to really have an impact. I'm going to tell you now, it's not going to be the answer of all your questions, but it's hopefully going to give us a sort of some inspiration and a little bit debate at the end of the presentation. So when I got the briefing email about this, I was asked to see if I can make the format interactive and fun, and I'm afraid I'm just not going to deliver on that in the beginning of the presentation, but please stick with me. I'm sure we're going to get there. We've all heard and consumed some of the most astonishing facts about our planet in the last few years. We've watched Greta Thunberg protests, we've seen the David Attenborough programs, we've seen the ice caps melting, we've seen the wildfires in Australia, and we've also seen the floods a bit closer to home. But did we really link it back to our everyday life? Then at the beginning of the year, the world faced another extraordinary event, and that was COVID-19. So it's arrived with all its consequences, and it brought some of the best out of humanity, if you think about all the clapping that we did together, and also some of the digital transformation that we've seen, especially in a local authority sense. What's been done in 3 months would have otherwise been taken years. But I think it also meant that we had to rethink about the way we go about work and about the way we go about our life. And now that we're learning to live with COVID and sort of thinking about the recovery, it's really in our power to decide how we want this recovery to look like. Do we want to go back to the office? Do we want to sit in the 7 a.m. train or in the traffic jam? Or do we really want to think about, actually, it might be time to push the reset button and think about recovery and a place-based recovery slightly different? Let's rethink the way we serve the citizens, we deal with our businesses, and really potentially move from much more of a linear model into more of a circular one. So the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to talk to you about my thoughts on a place-based recovery, and then we'll open up for Q&A, and I hope we're going to have a little bit of a discussion at the end of it. So when I think about recovery, there's 3 big areas that I want to look at. So there's sustainability, and that is an area that I'm super passionate about, and everyone who knows me knows I can talk for hours. So I'm really trying to limit what I'm telling you here. Secondly, I think we should also use digital to actually build a society that's much more diverse and inclusive than what we've done. And then the third area I'm looking at is going to be data, because I think that's the foundation of everything. For those of you who might not have heard much about sustainability, we don't define sustainability. It's already been done by the United Nations. And back in 2015, all 190 members, so the countries, signed up to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And as you can see on the screen here, there's a variety of them, 17 in total. And some of them are more socially active, and others are more around the environment. So, and we've also got sustainable cities and communities in here. From a Microsoft perspective,
Ellen, sorry to interrupt you, but your slides aren't progressing. I think they're static at the moment. We're still on the first slide.
That is very strange. But yeah.
I'm happy to move them on for you if you'd like. Which one would you like me to move to?
Hang on, this is working now, isn't it?
There we go.
You've missed my reset button. Anyway, so here we are. So these are the 3 big buckets that I was talking about: sustainability, diversity, inclusion, and data. And these are the UN Sustainable Development Goals that you can see. And you've got, as I said, some more from a social perspective, so around zero hunger and no poverty, but also more environmental aspects of it, like life on land or life below water. And also from a locality perspective, there's a special one around sustainable cities and communities. And then if we move on, so from a Microsoft perspective, we've actually been looking at sustainability for quite some time. And we were one of the first companies in 2012 that introduced a carbon tax, which basically meant that we did some internal cross-charging for the amount of carbon that we produce throughout our travel, for example. And that meant that we've been carbon neutral as a company since 2012. We also were one of the first organizations to actually deploy smart building solutions. And the reason I'm calling that out is because the energy consumption of buildings is about 40% of the entire energy consumption that we use. So actually looking at the way you manage buildings is really important. And then finally, in 2017, we launched an initiative called AI for Earth. So that's artificial intelligence for Earth, where we put technology at the hands of developers and scientists to help them tackle some of the world's most challenging problems. And one really cool example is an app called Wild Me that was developed, which allows you, when you're on a safari, to take pictures of the animals that you see. It's being then sent to the cloud and automatically analyzed with the AI, because each animal's got a unique fur pattern, and that helps conservationists understand herd movement and actually herd health. At the beginning of the year, Microsoft revamped its approach to sustainability, which was very much because we felt that those companies and organizations that can do more should do more. And we're now working in 4 different buckets. So we've got carbon, water, waste, and ecosystem. And as you can see, they're all very much on the environmental side of the UN Sustainability Development Goals. And the way we go about it is really in our entirety of our operations. So for example, the way we run our data centers. So there are studies out there that prove that running services from a data center compared to your own premises can be up to 93% more energy efficient and up to 98% more carbon efficient. So we need to make sure that we deliver to those targets. It's also in the way we design our products and services. For example, our Surface Books have been produced now with repairability built into it. If you think back, we've gone through phases where the products got smaller and smaller and smaller, and we ended up with the iPod. Now we're actually saying that you couldn't repair those. So if the screen was broke, you had to throw it away. And the majority of the carbon footprint actually happens in the production of the hardware. So the longer you can extend someone's life cycle, the better. And that's actually been quite a shift for Microsoft as well, if you think about the business model that we've got. We think about the way we work with you, with the customers and our partners, and there are so many super cool sustainability solutions out there. And we also use our voice to advocate the policies that we want to see. And then you've got in the middle of it, you've got employees, and that's just working for Microsoft really cool, because we have a really strong sustainability community, both worldwide and in the UK. So there's lots of different projects and hackathons that we work on. The reason I'm telling you all of this is because there's actually been some learnings from it, and I just wanted to share those with you, and then how we can apply that to a locality. I touched on the 93 and 98% earlier. So when you do think about your IT, really think about how you run it, and consider moving to the cloud, because it really does make a difference. From a behavioral perspective as well, it's worth calling out that the carbon tax actually really drove the right behavior internally. And we're also going to extend that now to our third parties. So we're going to ask all our third parties to contribute to that carbon tax as well. So if you work in procurement, for example, it might be an idea to think about how you to actually drive sustainable innovation. I touched on smart buildings earlier, and it's actually helped Microsoft reduce our energy bills by up to 20%. So not only is it good for the environment, but it also reduces our costs. And when we talk about smart buildings, what we mean by that is, for example, when you walk into a room, that the lights turn automatically on, that the air condition adjusts based on the amount of people that are in a room. So really that we can adjust it to the appropriate amount. And then only the other one, which we would have all experienced, is around remote work, and that remote work accelerates carbon reductions. So we've all been at home. We all know it's a different way of working. But again, I come back to my opening statement where we said, do we want to go back to, or do we want to think about a different way of working? So what does it mean to you and in a locality? So I've been thinking how to best present it, and I just thought we'd spend a little bit of time on what it means to ourselves, for businesses, and then potentially for the region. A really quick fix that you can do, and if only a few of you go away after this talk and say, I'll look at my energy provider, that talk was really well worth doing. The single biggest impact we can have is just see where we as individuals get our energy from, and moving to a green tariff is really, really easy and really quick and not necessarily more expensive. We can also look at how we reduce, reuse and recycle. So where do you shop? What do you shop? And then what do you do with the waste that you create? Around transport, it's not rocket science when we say maybe don't take the car, ride a bike or an e-bike. And also finally, there's lots of programs around the food that we consume. So be just mindful about what it is that you do, and you can have a real impact. We touched on businesses earlier already. So the IT footprint, where you get it from, whether you choose a cloud provider, but also the IT equipment that you buy. I mentioned that the majority of the carbon gets created in the production. So an idea is actually just to run it for a little bit longer, so you minimize the impact that you've got. Procurement practices, again, build it into your procurement practice that actually you ask for sustainability credentials. Internet of Things is a way of measuring and understanding what's happening around us. So it's deploying different sensors that lets you understand, for example, the air quality or the traffic or just people movement. So again, there's an idea around deploying that for your business, and then also the energy provider. And then where it gets really exciting is the one on the right, which is when we talk about a region and what we can do. And I think the real opportunity here is working together as a region, working with your different stakeholders, with the businesses, with your citizens, and understand where you feel you can have the biggest impact, and then just drive those initiatives. And then you can see at the bottom, you've got the line with the data, because I strongly feel if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So actually understanding your starting point is really, really, really important. So this takes me on to the next bucket, which is diversity and inclusion. And there's unfortunately no denying that COVID-19 has had a negative impact on employment. And there's also studies out there indicating that low skilled and low paid workers have been most affected, which is why actually not just that, but also the other point is that moving forward, some of the jobs may not even be available. So if we think about, we're not going into offices that often, so we might not need the transport, we might not need the coffee shops. So the services industry, for example, has been really heavily affected. So which is why it's crucial that everyone gets the opportunity to skill. And to that extent, I'm just going to show you some highlights of Microsoft Digital Skills Program. And if you're interested, my colleague Lee will be talking about that at 1 o'clock today. So I really recommend you guys join that session as well, because it's super interesting. So the Global Skills Initiative that you can see on the left here, that is when we partner with LinkedIn. And we've actually developed some learning path for some of the jobs that are most in demand. So whether it's software developers or sales advisors or project managers, all you need is a LinkedIn account. You can go on there, you can find that, and it's about 30 hours worth of training on those jobs. And then you get a little tag on LinkedIn that employers can then say, hey, he or she's been really interested and is actually working towards it. There's also some other programs that we run, whether it's MS Learn or we use our store to create some virtual learning. And as I said, Lee will talk a lot more about that at 1 o'clock. The point I wanted to make here is that it's not just Microsoft putting something out in the internet and people help themselves, but we're actually trying to actively integrate it with some of the existing programs that are there from central government, whether it's with the Department for Education or with the Department for Work and Pensions. And also we've been working with a lot of local governments and housing association to build it in as well. So yeah, join in Lee's session if you're interested. The other area I briefly wanted to touch on is LinkedIn Talent Insights. And that is really the idea as a locality for you to understand what skills and what talent is available in your region. So if you, for example, wanted to be the green tech capital of the UK, just picking on that, wouldn't it be good to understand how many green tech companies already are in your region and how many people with green tech skills are there? Because then you can inform policy and try and get companies to invest in your area. And LinkedIn Talent Solution does just that. So it provides you with benchmarking data with other regions, and it also gives you mobility data. So if you're, for example, university town, you can see where people move to after they've finished university. Building Back Better also gives us the opportunity to actually build back and design services, digital service in a diverse and an inclusive way. So just one area I want to briefly highlight is sort of the unconscious bias that we all carry within us. So where it doesn't matter which area of the world you're from or where you've grown up, everyone has that. So the purpose I'm saying that is that if you build your teams, we just need to make sure that they are as diverse as possible, because only like that can we build really diverse solutions. Digital also is a really good enabler actually for accessibility. And we've seen that in a lot of customers in the way they use our technology. So within Teams, you've got the transcribe function, for example, that just gives you subtitles at the bottom. And those subtitles actually can be translated simultaneously in different languages. So we've seen the states of Jersey, for example, doing their assembly debates on Teams during lockdown. And they've been broadcasting those in Polish and in Portuguese as well, because that's the minority languages that they've got. And then finally, let's look at data. And I'm going to make a bit of a statement here that I really feel that we need to change the way we think about data and the value that we add to data, because it's actually one of the biggest challenges. So you can see on here, we have lots of data, but actually only a little bit of the data is real or live or in use. So during lockdown, we've seen the importance of actually having the right data and sharing the data with other organizations. And I really think that moving forward, we should learn from that and moving away from this lowest common denominator. I only share what I really have to really try and opening up some of it. Because again, for a locality, it can be really powerful. And I know this is quite a busy slide, but what I wanted you guys to take away is in the middle, you've got the urban data platform. And that is sort of the host of your data. And you can plug lots of different organizations, whether it's your cities, your municipalities, or you can put your universities or your census. You can plug all of that in. But the importance is that data is in a readily accessible form. So you can manage it and you can model it and you can make predictions from it. What kind of concepts are there for a place-based recovery? And I've come across Kate Raworth about sort of 3 months ago only, and her Donut Economics. It's a really good book or audiobook if any one of you wants to listen to. And she really describes how we should move away from a linear economy to much more of a circular economy. And what we're aiming for is this safe and just space for humanity. To the right of it, you have the overshot, where we're just going as humans, we're going far too far, whether it's climate change, ocean acidification, you can read those, or also where we have a shortfall, where we're actually delivering too little for a strong social foundation. And the reason I'm showing you this is because the city of Amsterdam's actually used that as part of their economic post-COVID recovery. So you can see on here that they've done the analysis around climate change and biodiversity, where they feel that they strongly are overshooting, but also in the middle here where they feel that actually there's room for improvement. So with that, it takes me to the end of the sort of 15-20 minutes. I apologize for the slides not working properly earlier, and I would like to open the room to the virtual room to any questions that you've got. So let's just have a little look in the chat window. If you want to come off mute, feel free to do that as well.
Thanks very much, Ellen. Does anyone want to jump in? I didn't see any questions in the chat, but do feel free to come forward.
Did it resonate? Did you have any thoughts? Did anything sound totally off?
Be brave, everyone. Helen won't bite.
Try not to.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, it's Julie Houston from Harlow Council. I was really interested to see that the donut analysis, because I think that could be quite helpful to us as a locality. We're in Essex, just outside London. But one of the things we're kind of grappling with at the moment is how we can embed digital and the kind of sort of aspirations that you're talking about in terms of the recovery of our town centre, and how we can get the right infrastructure to enable that kind of data to come through and inform us of what's working, what's not working for people. I just wondered if you had any insights on that. I know that's quite a sort of a micro level compared to what you've just been talking about, but perhaps if you've got some tips about somewhere that's kind of doing that well.
I think we're seeing a lot of cities and regions actually not struggling, but working on the same issue. So we've been talking to some of the London authorities, where it's also around trying to get the right data to understand who is actually coming to the high street, how you can incentivize people back onto the high street, and also how you can potentially incentivize shop owners to be open for longer, or how you turn some of the nighttime economy on as well. So there's technology out there that can help you understand footfall. There's technology out there that can help you understand the browsing patterns, or incentivize people to actually send you a ping on the phone saying, hey, if you go to the local shop, there's 20% off at the moment. So if you want to do this, probably one that we could pick up separately, because it's quite a wide and diverse subject.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, you can find me on LinkedIn. If there is anything else you want to discuss, it's Ellen Wilson or elwilson@microsoft.com. If there's nothing else, just want to thank you for your time this afternoon, and have a nice rest of the day.